Hi, this is Bob Scully, and welcome to another edition of The World Show, our management series, my very own management class. And pay attention, pupils. Here is my thought for the day, but it's not for me. Thoughtful reflection on natural experience in the light of conceptual ideas is the most powerful tool we have for management learning. And this is from one of the worldwide all-time champion greats, Professor Henry Mintzberg at McGill, world-renowned specialist on management. Thank you for coming. Yeah. And Philip LeNir is with you, your partner.
Hi,
welcome.
Bob.
And I've described you before to a very august group. I think it was the graduates of INSEAD in France, as a brilliant bomb thrower, because usually you take aim at cliches with your sense of humor, but you're also a builder. You also have a lot to contribute positively. And now you're working with Philip on something called Coaching Ourselves. What is that?
Coaching Ourselves is an effort to enable managers to develop themselves in their workplace. So instead of going on to programs outside their own jobs, they come into their own. They bring the material into their own workplace and work with each other and develop each other. They develop their companies as they go along. They develop themselves, and they bond as a team. So it's very much focused in the workplace. And the material comes down from the internet. It's downloaded, and they work in small groups and they're building community, basically. That's the way I see it. Companies need to become more like communities, and that's what they're doing. When
you hear Coaching Ourselves, we've all had the experience. It's a very noble impulse to want to learn by yourself, but we've all tried to learn to paint or play piano or speak a foreign language on our own. Generally it fails over time because there isn't the discipline of a classroom or the support. This is more like a group, not group therapy, but a support group in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coaching ourselves in plural, and people get together and they learn together, and also they're sharing experiences in the company. They've lived those experiences together, so it becomes very natural for them to do that.
And the materials come down, literally downloaded from the internet. You don't send out, because it is a company, and you have clients. Yeah. Do you initially send out someone to get the ball rolling, or?
Yeah, Phil will go out. He can talk about that. He's been doing a lot of that, where he'll go out and get people starting. One thing to mention is we just get the best thinkers all over the place to do topics on things they know best. So what people are getting are really interesting points of view on all sorts of things like team building and foresight, and there's even one called Beyond Bullying, and there's all kinds of interesting stuff going on. Yeah.
And so, in a practical sense, because I know your client list is already quite impressive. Let's say one of them hears about you and is interested. What is step one? What happens?
So the first thing that we'll do is we'll work with whoever in the organization is looking to put this program together and decide exactly what the reason is for the program and how we want to go and form these teams, because putting the managers together has a big impact on the potential results. If you're trying to perhaps connect silos together, you'll get people from different functional areas. If you're trying to solve various issues, then you'll get people who are related to that issue together to create this team. And then we'll pick topics that will work. Initially, we'll pick topics for the team that will be related to the issues that have driven them to try this methodology. And then we'll show them how it works. We'll give them a sort of a practice. This is how you're going to do this self-directed group learning, as we've termed it. And then they're off their own. They have their little website, and they can grab the material from there and start setting their own meetings during work hours, about one every 2 weeks, and work through the material. It's just like a regular meeting, except the objective is you're going to learn something new about management.
Middle managers, I'm interested. This is actually for you. I've read this often in your books, but and so for you it's a familiar idea. But for people watching, I'm sure it isn't, because we do have a star system, and the CEOs are the superstars, like movie stars, and we cover them in the press. We give them all these perks. They travel with an entourage, and unlike sports, where even the normal players are pretty well paid, which keeps them happy. I mean, they're not getting as much as the top athlete, but they get. In middle managers are often not that well paid. Is it a depressed class of people from whom we're not getting what we should?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sometimes they're well paid, sometimes they're not. Middle management is such a varied thing. But yes, we're not getting nearly as much from them as we should, because we're assuming that everything revolves around leadership. The trouble with leadership and turnaround is that when that leader leaves, is it sustainable? Is that, it's much too personal, it's much too idiosyncratic. That's why my concern now is that organizations are communities. Effective organizations are communities. If you build up the community sense of it, which is the whole philosophy of coaching ourselves, if you build up the community sense of it, if you build up a core of middle managers who really care, and those are, by the way, the people who usually really do care, because often the chief executive has been parachuted in and is going to be gone as soon as there's a better offer. So the middle managers are the ones who are really committed, and yes, we need to tap what they're doing. The great corporations are the ones with great middle managers.
And I remember reading you had written that they're the memory of any company, and we're always wiping out, deleting the memory by, for instance, letting them go too early and so on.
Yeah, the memory's not in the computer. The memory is in the heads of the middle managers, largely.
And Philip, even though it's not, I repeat, it's not group therapy, it's not, but when people go into therapy or analysis, they have to have a horizon of when they, one day it's time to stop. They're cured, but they've completed it, right? Does that happen in the company? Coaching Ourselves has reached its goal and they thank you and that's it?
So it's going to depend on every organization and every group, of course, how they want to do that. It starts off with this, we're going to do a pilot organization, a pilot trial, and it's going to last maybe 8 to 10 topics, so that'll be about 4 to 5 months. But as I mentioned before, a lot of groups, they'll start with that and then they'll say, look, this is just something that we want to do. So if you think about, let's say, 360 reviews, you do that every year, performance reviews, these kind of things. Coaching Ourselves becomes one of these processes that you start to do because, of course, it evolves as you evolve and the challenges evolve, because the learning is happening inspired by the material, but it's the conversations, it's what's going on. So you're talking about what happened last week, 2 weeks before, and that's always changing, and what are you going to do next week? So it's something that helps you solve your problems regardless of where you are in that stage.
And for both of you, it started as a bit, I won't call it a hobby, but a cottage industry. It's not your main activity. Has it grown as a business per se? Is there appetite for it?
That's interesting. We're at the opposite ends of the kind of life cycle, if you like, because Phil always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and so he's the kind of young startup guy and is running Coaching Ourselves as managing director. And I am a partner in it. It's taking more time than I thought it would, but it's actually more fun than I thought it might be. Because what it does is, we've had all kinds of programs reflected in my book, Managers Not MBAs, but this is the one that's really going to bring that philosophy home, I think, which is that we need to change, this is a motto we're using, but we need to change how management is practiced. And I think this is just a fundamental shift in how we view management. And so we're not being subversive or anything,
But it has grown. I mean, I saw some of the client list. That's growing, in other words.
Yeah, that's growing, and every day. Phil mentioned a couple today, a couple of big new contracts today, one government, one business, and no, it's going great guns.
That allows me then to really tell people, you see what happens when you read this? Lots of wonderful things happen. I know. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for having been here. And once again, Managers Not MBAs, and the program is called Coaching Ourselves, and maybe perhaps there's a website or something, we'll show that on the screen. I'm Bob Scully. This was the Management Series of the World Show. Have a great week. Thanks.